Hello, and welcome to my not so boring Windows PowerShell introduction. So, one of the first things you'll notice about Microsoft PowerShell is that it's blue. Everybody always notices that off the top. That doesn't really mean anything. It's just to differentiate it from the old command prompt. As a matter of fact, you can turn the color to be black if you wanted to. You could even make it purple or yellow or green or just whatever. Whatever your heart desires, you can change the color to. One of the other things people notice that's different with PowerShell is the syntax that's used. The parameters that you feed in commands, or in PowerShell we call them commandlets. The parameters that you would feed a commandlet are standardized across all the commands. Unlike command shell, where you would say ping, and if you did a ping t, well then that means that it was pinging forever. Well, if you use the t-switch on a different command, well, the t-switch may mean something completely different or be non-existent whatsoever and you get an error. That's a benefit to Windows PowerShell, is that parameters such as the computer name parameter, which you'll see me use, are standardized across almost all of the commandlets. To get us started, I am going to show us one commandlet that's one of my favorites. It's the get event log commandlet. And it works pretty simply, and it works actually in the background with WMI and the .NET framework. It's also interesting to note that almost all of PowerShell works with WMI and COM, and you should also note that it works through the .NET framework. Let's go ahead and get started. And the very first thing that we'll do is type in get an event log. Now just hit enter. Well, it wants the log name. So the kind of log that I want to get application logs. So we'll go ahead and type in application and enter. If you notice, all I used was the original commandlet, and it told me what it needed, it asked me basically what it needed to complete my function. It's a lot of information, and it's going to go on forever, so I'm just going to go ahead and cancel it and clear the screen. To clear the screen, I'll press clear. Now, one of the other nifty parts of this, and this works with PowerShell and with command, is if I use my up arrow, it will cycle through the previous commands that I've used. The cool thing about PowerShell is that its buffer, so to speak, as to how many previous commands it uses. Its default is 50. So hitting all 50 or running out of 50 is going to be really hard. And even if you somehow manage to, you can increase that later on. But that's just some side information in case you were curious. So when we did the get event log, we got a lot of information, too much information. So if I didn't want to get it to ask me for information, if I wanted to provide just the basic to get the thing to go, I'll go ahead and type in application. If you notice, it didn't ask me. That's because I told it what the log name was that it was looking for. So I'll go ahead and I'll cancel that, clear the screen, and let's go back. So now that we have the application part of it, so we know what type of logs to look for, I can also tell it what computer to search on. So I'll type in computer name. And while I'm here, I'll go ahead and I'll show another feature of PowerShell. If I hit the tab key on my keyboard, it should auto-complete this parameter if the parameter exists for that commandlet. So I'll hit tab, and it auto-completed for me. Excellent. If it didn't, let's say for example, if there was a, I don't know, let's call it a zebra parameter. If you notice, it didn't do anything. It didn't capitalize, it didn't complete, nothing. So if I'll go back to computer name, and I'll switch through. So I'll tell it a computer name. And you can give it any computer name. It can be your computer, or it can be another computer somewhere else on the network. If you don't define a computer name, PowerShell will automatically assume that the command is running off of your computer, or actually I should say getting information about your computer. Now, we're also going to narrow down our search scope of the event logs. I want to get just the errors, so I'm going to tell it what type of entry types. And again, I tabbed to autocomplete. And I want to get errors. Well, as we can see, my computer's generating a lot of errors. So I'll hit Control-C to go ahead and cancel that out. Let's clear our screen, so that way it's not as messy. I'll use my up arrow to get back to here. And because there's so much information, I kind of want to group it, so that way I can kind of see, well, just what's chugging away, what's giving me so many different errors. So the way that we can do that is we can take the information that we're getting with the command that we have typed out already, and we can pipe that, send that information to another command to basically organize it for me. So I'll use the pipe command, and then I'll send it to the next commandlet that I'm going to use, which is group object. Oh, sorry, group object. But I have to tell it how to group it. And the property that I'm going to use is the source property. So now let's see how that does. Excellent. So it grouped these things together, and I can see right away that the property that's giving me the biggest trouble is the group policy. If you notice, it counted 1,130 different errors. That's kind of messy. But just while we're on the topic of piping, the best way to think of this, well, the way that I think of it really is from Mario. You know how Mario goes down the little tube and goes jump, 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 and then he comes out the other side? Well, when he comes out the other side, he's still Mario. He's still in whatever mode that he has, whether he's in a Tanuki suit or if he's, you know, Fire Mario or whatever. So basically what we're doing by pipe is we're saying, take the information, take the objects, take whatever you did from this side, and send that to the other side, and I'm going to tell you what to do with it. So in this case, we did our get events, we got all of our events, and then we sent it to the group commandlet to actually do stuff with it. Well, now that we've grouped it, we can actually do some more with it. So I'm going to up arrow again, and this time I kind of want to sort it so that way it looks a little bit more clean. So I'll pipe it again, and I'll use the sort object. So again, we've got a group object, and now we're going to sort it. So sort object, but again I have to tell it what property. In this particular case, the property is actually pretty easy to see because when I ran the previous command, it gave me my property options. I can sort it by count, name, or group. So I'll go ahead and I'll choose count. And then I also have to tell it, well, do I want it to be ascending or descending? Well, because I want to see what's giving me the biggest trouble, I'm going to choose descending. And again, tab out, and it auto-completes. I'll hit enter. And it sorted the information for me. So now in a quick glance, I can see my #1 error generator on my computer's group policy. Then I can see that something called side-by-side, then something called auto-enrollment, an ACU config, some .NET runtimes. Now, I can't see when these events were generated, not with the commandlets that I've used this particular time. So I don't know if this is old information or new information, but I can tell right off the top of my head that group policy is giving me some problems. So if you're interacting with a customer and you kind of want to see real quick as to what's going on with their computer, you can run this command that we just walked through in order to get that information and kind of guide your troubleshooting from there, or just to take a peek and see if there are any issues running. A couple of things to go over again is the get event log, very, very, very popular. If you want to get more information about how to use a get event log, because you can do a lot more with it, you can do a different commandlet called get help, and then when you use the get help, you tell it what do you want help on, because if you don't, it'll give you help on how to use get help. Kind of neat, but anyways, get help, and I'll tell it get event log. And as you can see, it groups it together: name, synopsis, syntax, description, and related links. Now this is some good basic information, but I always go for the full. It might be overwhelming at first, but we'll go through it real quick all the way up here to the top. Gives you the parameters that you can use, which are very, very, very helpful. And it also tells you whether or not that parameter is required in order to run the function. So in order to run the function before, it made us tell it what log name we wanted to use. It actually asked us when we didn't give it. And as you can see here, it tells you where it's required. It'll also give you examples on how to use it. Like here, this is actually this is more for scripting example, but we'll come up here. Like this is an example, and it also tells you what that example was for. If you have any questions based on this video, please pass it to the person that's running your meeting, and they can get it back to me. Feel free to watch this as many times as you need in order to get a little bit more comfortable, and in the future we'll go over some others. Thank you for joining me, and I hope this was informative.